Throughout history, humans have always been fascinated with the relationship or the dichotomy of things like what is good or evil, right or wrong, strong or weak, and so much more. But who are the people that gets to determine who is good or evil and right or wrong, and how does one even go about categorizing individuals into these criteria? However, that's just it, isn't it? No one should ever have an absolute authority to put a label on everything because realistically, the world is complex, humans are complicated creatures, and there are different distinctions to the world and nothing is ever that simple. That's why even stories in recent years have shifted from the typical idea of good versus evil towards something more balanced, straddling the line between black and white, never leaning towards one of the extremes. Because there are always different sides to the story and sometimes the motivations or background of other people are simply just different to what others might perceive as normal. That is essentially the core principles behind the manga known as Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku, a take on the idea of what should be considered good and evil and how people of different backgrounds and situations comprehend it. Now, Jigokuraku was created by Kakuyuji, an assistant of Fujimoto Tatsuki, the author of Chainsaw Man, so you can expect this manga to also have a darker tone to the story despite being classified as a shonen. It doesn't feel too simplistic when it comes to the writing, and it actually does a good job at tackling the concepts I mentioned just now while adding its own twist to the story, world, and characters. Basically, to sum up the story of Jigokuraku, it starts with the protagonist Gabimaru, considered to be one of the most infamous ninjas of Iwagakure, and he was called Gabimaru the Hollow because he is said to be just a cold-hearted, empty husk of a man with no remorse. However, his village betrayed him, so he has now been captured and he spends his days on death row wondering when would they be able to end his meaningless life. But after a skilled female executioner belonging to the Yamada clan by the name of Yamada Asaemon Sagiri confronts him, she is able to open his eyes to the fact that he actually wants to live in order to reunite with his wife. Now with a purpose to survive, Sagiri offered Gabimaru a proposition. If he ever wishes to see his beloved wife again, he will have to embark on an expedition to a mysterious mystic island that is said to house the elixir of life. But the catch is that he has to compete with other death row criminals to find the elixir and return with it for the shogun, and if he succeeds, he will earn a full pardon, but most importantly, he will finally have a chance to live an ordinary life with his wife. Gabimaru gladly accepts the task, but he soon finds out that he has received more than what he bargained for because what awaits him and the other criminals on the island is not just the Yamada executioners accompanying them, but the island itself, a literal paradise of hell. That's basically the premise of the manga, and I'm sure you're thinking that it sounds like any other battle royale story, but trust me, once they step foot on the island, you'll be utterly surprised and shocked by how complex the story becomes. It goes from a conventional battle royale story and it quickly shifts to become a deeper philosophical look at the idea of good and evil and what is right and wrong. The manga is able to perfectly present an argument and subvert your perspective on not just the criminals who have committed heinous crimes, but also the executioners who are supposed to be righteous enforcers of justice, by showing their backstories, motivations, and goals, letting you learn about the environments that led them to become the way they are. You realize that every character is flawed one way or the other. You get to see the beautiful and ugly side of the characters, their imperfections and weaknesses, or the good and evil of every character explored in such a way that makes you wonder if anything is truly as it seems and whether or not anyone is even worthy of judging the nature of the criminals or the executioners. Take the protagonist Gabimaru for instance. He was raised from infancy to be a ruthless and efficient killer that only prioritized completing the mission, and he was even thought that having sentimentality was a sign of weakness. And yet as the story continued, you see that he tries to suppress his cruel nature as a ninja, gradually changing his behavior and personality to allow himself to embrace his emotions. However, he's not a completely changed man as he still has a hollow side, but that side of him mainly surfaces when he has been pushed to the limit and he has no other options left. But it's obvious throughout the story he's constantly at war with the part of him that knows only killing and the side that wishes to become a truly good person. His character struggle is the perfect representation of the manga's contrasting themes, trying to find balance between the things he learned from his wife like compassion and finding strength from embracing his emotions, and his cruel nature as a ninja that has been embedded into his psyche. You can see his motivations and thought process shifting, showing that he truly wants to redeem himself as a new man and leave his bloody past behind for the sake of his wife, even learning to care for others rather than just completing an objective like when he instinctively rushes in to save Sagiri. Now the same can be said about the Yamada executioners as well, especially for Sagiri. Even though she is a great executioner, she is often viewed by her fellow executioners as someone unworthy of becoming a samurai because of her lack of resolve and also compassion. We even see this compassion manifest into fear and self-doubt as we see the bloody souls of those she executed haunting her. But her compassion isn't a weakness, instead it's this compassion and her experience being an executioner that she is capable of understanding the feelings of others from within their hearts, hearts. Through this, Sagiri is capable of showing compassion even towards criminals despite her strict personality. She understands that criminals also have something to fight for and that not everything is truly black and white. Although Gabimaru is considered evil by most, Sagiri saw past that and sees him as someone that is not truly evil but just someone that had a different situation compared to her. But Gabimaru and Sagiri aren't the only interesting characters, as the other criminals and executioners are able to deliver a good representation of the themes of the manga as well. They are characters with their own motivations and ideas, because even if some of them are criminals, they too suffer hardships, loss and hatred in some way. And as the story progresses, you realize that they all truly develop and change as characters in very organic ways, making them feel realistic and tangible. You see how much they struggle to accomplish their personal goals and to what extent is someone willing to go in order to achieve them. The self-doubt and rediscovering of oneself, finding balance and strength through weakness and loss, learning to forgive someone and their willingness to redeem themselves. That's the beauty of the manga. It does not simply paint its world in black and white, but rather it's more about finding balance and show how nothing really is just one extreme or the other. Seeing the tiny bits and pieces of their personalities and personal history makes it almost impossible to deem any of them as purely good or evil. You might find it hard to actually hate any of the main cast of characters because their motives, stories and hearts are laid right out for you to see, and as you follow them through their battles and experiences on the island, you at least get attached to one of them. Now, Jigokuraku is a fairly dark shonen manga, so you can expect characters to die easily and quickly, but that doesn't take away all the development we get in the characters, because any character that doesn't die immediately after they're introduced that is important for the story will definitely be getting character development, and most of the plot twists are character driven, be it through their intelligence, resourcefulness or power-up moments, so they would get development in some form. This is really what separated the characters of Jigokuraku from other dark shonen mangas. It's how beautifully and tragically human they all are, whether it is the Yamada executioners or the criminals. All of them will show some level of imperfection at some point, being reminded in the process of just how nothing is ever set in stone, nor is it forever. That said, despite the darker tone of the story, there are some morsels of humor to be had, especially from Gabimaru, whose reputation contradicts his laid-back personality. Gabimaru's off-putting odd charm and Sagiri's quiet complexity complement each other well, which definitely helps to balance out the darker tones. As for another aspect of the manga that really shines is the art and overall style of it. I'm sure just from looking at the manga cover you can already tell. The character design looks remarkable and they go pretty well with their personalities for the most part. And because the island is essentially a hell disguised as a paradise, the contradiction between beauty and brutality in the scenery is disturbingly good looking, and you can understand why the characters would call it artificial. Personally, I'm biased towards any kind of Chinese aesthetics, so seeing the author masterfully combine Taoist and Buddhist imageries into repulsive but interesting imitations of divine figures is both exciting and surreal. The monster and sceneries definitely look like something out of a Boschian painting with how disturbing they look. All in all, Jigokuraku is a highly thought-provoking and beautiful dark shonen with a very creative storyline and very likable cast of characters, but besides that, the action scenes are depicted quite well and you will definitely get shocked or feel goosebumps when you experience them. The humor is done in moderation and when it is used, it fits perfectly well with the scenes and mood. However, I must say that this manga is not for everyone, since most of the fight scenes are quite gory and violent, and there are most definitely graphic and cultured scenes as well. So if you're not a fan of graphic or eerie and creepy looking creatures, I would not recommend reading this. But anyways, whether it is deep philosophical thoughts like good and evil or just the sheer bloodshed and chaos that you get from the manga, I personally found Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku to be an amazing manga. Before I end the video, I want to thank these lovely people for recommending Jigokuraku to me in my previous community posts, and feel free to recommend me more stuff in the comment section down below and you have a chance to be featured in future videos. That's all I have to say about Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku, and you should definitely check it out if you are looking for some dark shonen manga to read. Be sure to leave a comment down below to let me know your thoughts on the manga. If you enjoyed the video, remember to give it a like and feel free to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell for more manga reviews and other anime content. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe everyone.